After abandoning me and our kids for his online hot girlfriend, my husband vanished for 8. Now she's back, claiming she has an offer for me. I, a 40-year-old man, am feeling torn about a recent decision I made regarding my family and would like to know everyone's thoughts. To start with, my life flipped upside down 8 years ago when my wife Sarah suddenly announced she was leaving me and the kids. She had met a hot dude online and fallen in love with him. Her decision came out of nowhere and left me wrecked. Sarah had been acting distant and weird for weeks leading up to the bombshell, but I had brushed it off as work-related stress. We had been married for over a decade and had stuck by each other through thick and thin. I had known her for half my life, and we had built a family together. The thought of her cheating had never crossed my mind. One evening, Sarah finally confessed she had met someone. Those words shattered me. She blurted out that the guy's name was Jack, and he was the hottest man she had ever seen. She had been chatting with him for the past 3 months and had formed a connection that made her realize she was unhappy in our marriage. Every word she spoke cut through me like a knife, and I felt a mix of anger and despair swirling in my gut. She kept reassuring me that she still loved us, but she couldn't deny her feelings for Jack. She insisted she needed to meet him in person to see if it was going anywhere. I was overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions, unable to make sense of what was happening, and it felt like the walls of our home were closing in on me. My voice shook as I asked her if she was leaving us and the kids for this man. She nodded slowly, saying that although she didn't expect me to understand, she needed to do this for herself. She had thought about it a lot, and she was going to meet him and start a new life. She told me she was ready to support us financially as much as she could, but she needed to follow her heart and meet the love of her life. The world came crashing down around me. I just couldn't believe my wife was leaving me and our kids for someone she had never met in person. My first instinct was to scream, to plead, to do anything to make her stay, but I looked at her face and knew she had already made her choice and there was no turning back. Sarah moved out the following week, leaving me to explain to our children that their mother wouldn't be coming back. Lily, at 9 years old, had 1,000 questions, but I had no answers. Tommy, who was only 4 years old then, couldn't fully grasp the magnitude of the situation and clung to me as if he knew something was terribly wrong. I felt numb and shattered during this time, and my children were the only thing that kept me from drowning in my sorrow. When I first told my family about Sarah, they had the same reaction as me. They just couldn't understand why on earth my wife of so many years would do something like this. My parents wanted me to pursue this legally, but at that point in my life I didn't have much to go on, and I still believed my wife would come back to us. Sarah's parents looked utterly helpless and broken when they found out their daughter had left us. They called her multiple times, pleading with her to return to us, but she told them the same story. Eventually, days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. I was left to pick up the pieces, both for my sake and for the kids. Our family and friends rallied around us, offering support and a shoulder to lean on. I focused on finding a job so I could provide a stable environment for Lily and Tommy, but the pain of my wife's betrayal lingered. During this time, Sarah's parents helped me a lot by offering financial help and babysitting the children if I ever needed a break. 8 years have since passed, and Sarah's presence in our lives has dwindled to nothing more than a distant memory. She used to send us money periodically, but other than that, she never contacted me or the children. I have pretty much become a single father over the years, working tirelessly to provide for my children and give them the love and attention they deserve. Although Lily occasionally remembered her mother, she eventually stopped trying to contact her and learned not to bring her up. In contrast, Tommy's recollection was far hazier, so he never even mentioned her. They both have grown up to become remarkable individuals despite the pain of losing their mother. Recently, Sarah's father passed away unexpectedly, and we all attended his funeral. Later, his family lawyer informed us that he wanted to talk to me about his will. The lawyer explained that Sarah's father had left some money for his grandchildren. While it wasn't a huge amount, It could help cover my kids' college expenses. I sat down with my children and shared the news that they wouldn't need to worry about college costs anymore. Their faces lit up with joy, and seeing their happiness was truly heartwarming. It felt like a weight had been lifted, knowing we had one less concern on our plate. After a long period of uncertainty, it finally felt like everything was coming together in our lives. Last week, I got a call from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was Sarah on the other end of the line. There was a rush of conflicting emotions, and I was speechless to hear her voice after 8 years. She hesitated before telling me she wanted to meet me urgently. I was confused, so I asked her to clarify. She admitted she wanted to discuss an offer with me and kept pleading with me that she had to see me. I couldn't understand why she was calling me now after so many years when she hadn't bothered to contact me before. Her repeated pleas were hard to ignore, so I took a moment to gather my thoughts and finally agreed to meet with her alone, albeit cautiously. The meeting was set, and we decided to meet at a cafe near my office. As I hung up the call, a whirlwind of questions and uncertainties filled my mind, leaving me anxious about meeting her after 8 years. I decided not to tell my kids anything until after I met her to see what was the offer she kept talking about. The days leading up to our scheduled meeting were a roller coaster of emotions. I couldn't help but replay the past in my mind, recalling the pain of Sarah's sudden departure, the struggles of raising our children alone, and the years of trying to come to terms with her abandonment. On the day of our meeting, I arrived early, nervously sipping my coffee as I waited for Sarah. It wasn't long before she walked in, approaching me with a mix of hesitation and determination. I noticed she looked older, worn, and somehow different from the woman I had married. Our initial exchange was filled with awkward silences and tentative words. We avoided the elephant in the room, focusing instead on polite greetings and catching up on the years that had passed. It was as if we were two strangers trying to navigate the remnants of a past life. Eventually, Sarah gathered her courage and began to explain the reason for her sudden reappearance in our lives. She spoke about how Jack didn't turn out to be the man she thought he was. It turns out he was actually a single father himself, but had never revealed the truth to her until she had left us and was standing in front of his doorstep. Their relationship faced numerous challenges, mainly stemming from his gambling addiction, which led him to squander all of her money. They argued frequently, but Sarah had chosen to stand by him, hesitant to give up on someone else again. However, when her father passed away recently, she realized how short life was to remain in an unhappy situation. Every day she spoke about how much she missed everyone back here and was disappointed with the choices she had made 8 years ago. Sarah continued, saying she had thought several times over the years of coming back to us, but didn't have the strength to face us. She then revealed that her father had left her their lake house, a huge property where we used to go for vacations before Sarah left us. She told me she wanted to sell the house, which would allow her to be set for the rest of her life. I nodded quietly, listening to her. Sarah then dropped a bombshell. She proposed that she wanted to come back to us and give our children a luxurious life. She assured me I would never have to work again if I accepted her back into our lives. I stared at her in disbelief as she assured me we could live the rest of our lives without worrying about money. Basically, Sarah wanted us to reconcile and give our family a second chance, using the inheritance to build a better life together. I weighed Sarah's words carefully, understanding the potential benefits that the inheritance could bring to our family. However, it was impossible to forget all the years she had been absent, leaving me to fend for our children. As much as the idea of financial security appealed to me, I couldn't ignore the pain and anger that had built up over the years of her abandonment. So I firmly told her that while I appreciated the offer, I just couldn't forget the last 8 years. I told her that I had been raising the kids alone while juggling work. And while we may not have everything now, we did have a stable life. I told her I couldn't risk putting myself and my children through the pain again. I wanted to protect them, and I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her not to leave us again. Sarah kept pleading with me to reconsider, her eyes filled with desperation, but I knew that if I allowed her back into our lives, I would be taking a huge gamble on our family's stability. My heart ached at the thought of rejecting her offer, especially considering the financial relief it could bring, but I couldn't overlook the emotional scars she had left behind. Since my meeting with Sarah, my parents have been bugging me to reconsider my decision to reject her offer. They keep telling me that after what she has put us through, the least she could do now was provide me and our children with a better life free from financial worries and limitations. My parents keep arguing that people can change, and maybe Sarah has realized her mistakes and truly wants to rebuild our family. They think I am being selfish and want me to put my children's comfort above my heartbreak. I have been spending many sleepless nights wrestling with my choice. I haven't been able to bring myself to tell my children about Sarah's return. I worry about how they will react to the news, and how they will process the idea of their mother re-entering their lives after 8 years of absence. I have been questioning my own judgment, torn between the potential benefits of accepting Sarah's offer and the memories of our painful past. So, Reddit, am I the bull for rejecting Sarah's offer and possibly keeping my children and me from a better life? In just a few days, I received thousands of comments and messages from people. I am glad that a majority of you don't think I am the blah. I listened to everyone's advice and decided it was time to have an open conversation with my children about Sarah. The last thing I wanted was for her to reappear in their lives, taking them by surprise. Today, I sat Lily and Tommy down after dinner so I could gently bring up the subject with them. I began to tell them about their mother's unexpected reappearance and her offer to come back into our lives. Their faces reflected a mix of curiosity and confusion as they tried to understand what I was saying. When I told them that she had inherited the lake house and wanted to sell it to help us financially, their reactions varied. Lily, now 17 years old, exhibited a range of emotions from anger to shock. She was as confused as me and couldn't understand why Sarah wanted to return to us after so many years. Although she remembered her mother and sometimes missed her, she also remembered the pain she had felt in her absence. She said that she had missed having a mother figure in her life initially, but had eventually learned to live without her and did not want her anymore. Tommy, who is now 12 years old, told us that he didn't remember Sarah at all, so he didn't care much that I had rejected the offer. He struggled to grasp the full implications of the situation. I told them frankly that whatever they decided would happen, as I respected their opinions and emotions. Lily expressed that she had absolutely no desire to meet her, and Tommy agreed, saying that he was content with how things were. I realized that although the thought of potentially mending our family was enticing, the scars from the past ran deep, and my children's well-being was paramount. In my mind, I knew I had made the right choice to walk away from Sarah that day in the cafe. Following this, I plan on talking to my parents about the next course of action. Contrary to popular opinion, I never planned on staying married to Sarah, but she left before we could go through with a divorce. I did not have the resources to go against her then, but I have since realized that there is no point in staying married to this woman anymore. Sarah's relentless calls have become increasingly desperate. Over the past few weeks, no matter how much I explained to her that I did not want her back, she kept calling. As a non-confrontational person, I felt cornered and emotionally drained by her constant attempts to reach me. I was worried that she might suddenly turn up at my workplace or visit the kids at school. Hence, I decided it was time to reach out to her mother. She was aware of Sarah's return and seemed like the only person who could help me understand her motivations and deal with her relentless pursuit. I met her to inform her of my decision to end things with Sarah legally and to express my annoyance with her constant calls. During this conversation, her mother revealed the real reason behind her persistence. She explained that Sarah's father had added a cleverly designed clause when bequeathing her the lake house. She could become the owner of the house if, and only if, she returned to our family. To solidify her claim over the house, I had to sign the papers as well. This revelation left me shocked and dismayed. I finally understood why she had been pursuing me for several weeks. The primary reason she was contacting me was not out of a genuine desire to reconcile or make amends with me, but rather to secure ownership of the house. The whole situation felt like a cruel manipulation of emotions, and I needed to consider my next steps carefully. After discovering Sarah's true intentions, I realized it was time to act. I didn't want to stay in a relationship driven by manipulation and secrets anymore. I have started looking for a lawyer who can help me prepare for my divorce proceedings immediately. I have also talked with my parents, who regret telling me to reconsider her offer. They understand now that she hasn't changed over the years and are supportive of my decision to move forward with the divorce. They regret telling me to ever listen to her, and now know that it is the right thing to walk away from her. I have blocked Sarah for now so she can't disturb me anymore. I plan to see her directly when I serve her with divorce papers. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I can finally give a happy update. As I had mentioned, I was going to serve Sarah with the divorce papers, so I reached out to her under the pretext of meeting up. She immediately agreed. Lily and Tommy expressed a desire to meet their mother one last time. They had many questions, and I felt it was essential for them to have some closure despite the pain of the past. We arranged for a meeting in a neutral place, a local park where we had spent many happy family moments before Sarah's departure. Lily's eyes were filled with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism as she looked at her mother, while Tommy clung to my side awkwardly. I started by telling her that I knew her real motive behind contacting us after so long. Sarah protested that it wasn't just the clause in her father's will that prompted her, but that she genuinely wanted us to give her a second chance. I shook my head in disbelief, knowing that I could not trust another word out of this woman's mouth. I told her that we were finished and that the least she could do was give our children some closure by answering their questions. She nodded solemnly. Lily started by asking her if leaving us for another man was worth it. Sarah, with a hint of annoyance, replied that she was lost and had made a terrible mistake. Tommy, with a more straightforward approach, asked her if finding her happiness was more important than leaving her children with their dad. Sarah took a deep breath before responding that she wasn't thinking straight at the time and admitted that she was wrong in leaving us. My children, perceptive and strong, weren't satisfied with just those answers. Sarah tried to justify her affair, saying that it was her midlife crisis. As the conversation continued, Sarah shared painful details of her life with Jack, the struggles they faced, and the realization that she had been chasing an illusion. Lily and Tommy listened attentively, although I doubt they believed her. They asked her why she had never kept in touch and if she really regretted leaving us. I could feel the pain in my children's voices. Sarah admitted that she had been overwhelmed by her own guilt and didn't know how to face the consequences of her actions. She reiterated that she wanted us to be whole again and that she could provide us with a luxurious life now. As I looked into my children's eyes, I knew that the decision was clear. They did not believe her, just like me, and would not allow Sarah to waltz back into our lives offering money as a quick fix for the damage she had caused. It was a matter of principle, of standing up for the strength and resilience my children and I had shown over the past 8 years in her absence. Determined, I told her that we had moved on from her and did not need her or her money anymore. I served her the divorce papers as she looked at them with a mixture of remorse and disappointment. She pleaded with me that she genuinely wanted to make up for those years, but I was resolute in my decision. She then offered to split the lake house sale proceeds with me, telling me that in this way we could both benefit from it. Lily spoke up that we didn't need her charity money, and Tommy nodded in agreement, adding that we had what we needed to be happy. At this point, I guess Sarah finally realized what a huge blunder she had made and started to cry. She kept apologizing to the kids, saying she had made a terrible mistake by leaving us and she understood that we could never forgive her. That day, as I walked away from the park hand in hand with Lily and Tommy, I finally felt free. It had never occurred to me the burden I had carried quietly for the sake of my children. It felt good watching my children stand up for me and have my back. Our divorce will proceed as I have decided. I know that it's going to take a while before I am freed of her legally, but in the meantime, I plan on taking some time off so I can spend some time with my children. I plan on taking them to Disneyland, a trip we have been looking forward to for a long time. I want to create beautiful memories with my children, filled with laughter and joy, to help offset the painful memories of the past. I know as long as we have each other, we can face whatever the future holds with strength and resilience. Despite the challenges and emotional turmoil we have faced, my children and I are on a path towards healing and creating a new, stable, and honest life. This chapter is far from over, but we are going to be writing our own story from now on, and I am determined to ensure it's one filled with love, trust, and growth. Since my last update, I have some exciting news to share. I was promoted at work, and it feels like a huge accomplishment. It took me a long time to reach this position, but I am finally earning a comfortable income that allows me to provide even more for my family. The promotion not only brings financial security but also the satisfaction of knowing that my hard work and dedication have paid off. In the end, things are going well with the divorce proceedings. I have hired an excellent lawyer who, after finding out the history between my wife and me, is confident that it will be a smooth divorce. Although it may not be a simple process, it is necessary for our closure and a fresh start. My family and friends have stood by my side throughout this time, providing support. Now that I am earning more than enough, I plan on sending my children to therapy. I understand that my children might have abandonment issues, so I want them to better process their emotions and work through any lingering issues. I have been researching therapists with expertise in dealing with such issues, and have found a compassionate and experienced therapist who specializes in helping children and families navigate complex emotions. Meanwhile, as a parent, I believe in promoting the exploration of my children's interests other than studies. My daughter Lily has a remarkable talent for art and spends hours creating beautiful paintings that adorn our home. My son Tommy has always had a natural talent for soccer, and we spend our weekends attending his games and cheering him on. I am proud to see my children thriving in their lives. Regarding Sarah, we have not been in contact, and I believe it is best to keep it that way. As many of you correctly assumed, her affair partner Jack unexpectedly contacted me one day. The message was not an apology, as one might expect, being that he was the other man, but rather anger and resentment towards me for allegedly taking Sarah away from him. He blamed me for their relationship falling apart, and accused me of being the reason for her departure. In his messages, Jack lashed out, calling me names and making hurtful accusations. He questioned my motives and claimed I had manipulated Sarah into returning to our family. The messages were aggressive and unsettling, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the intensity of his anger. I couldn't believe that this man had the nerve to be angry at me when he was the reason behind my family breaking up 8 years ago. I responded to him, stating that I had no desire to be with Sarah and that I was in the process of getting a divorce. I reminded him of the pain and confusion that my family had gone through when Sarah left us for him and told him that he had no right to contact me. I stressed how our lives had been turned upside down all those years ago and how my children had suffered as a result. I made it clear that I never wanted her back, and if he needed to blame someone, then he should blame himself and his gambling addiction. I blocked him after I sent him the message, and hopefully he won't try to contact me further. I don't want him to mess up the peaceful life my children and I have built. As for Sarah's mother, I do talk to her sometimes, as she has always been kind to me. She has expressed her regrets about how things have turned out and wants me to do whatever it takes to be happy. Interestingly, her mother also revealed that due to my decision not to reconcile with Sarah, the lake house would not be going to her as her father had intended. This revelation was unexpected, although it also felt deserved. This woman's selfish decisions had not only shattered our family but also another, so it was only fitting that she should suffer. It was time to move forward and leave the past behind. I know it is going to be a challenging journey, but the healing process is well underway. My children are growing and thriving, and our future looks brighter with each passing day. Now, on to the next chapter. Since my last update, I have some exciting news to share. I was promoted at work, and it feels like a huge accomplishment. It took me a long time to reach this position, but I am finally earning a comfortable income that allows me to provide even more for my family. The promotion not only brings financial security, but also the satisfaction of knowing that my hard work and dedication have paid off. Things are going well with the divorce proceedings. I have hired an excellent lawyer who, after finding out the history between Sarah and me, is confident that it will be a smooth divorce. Although it may not be a simple process, it is necessary for our closure and a fresh start. My family and friends have stood by my side throughout this time, providing support. Now that I am earning more than enough, I plan on sending my children to therapy. I understand that my children might have abandonment issues, so I want them to better process their emotions and work through any lingering issues. I have been researching therapists with expertise in dealing with such issues and have found a compassionate and experienced therapist who specializes in helping children and families navigate complex emotions. Meanwhile, as a parent, I believe in promoting the exploration of my children's interests beyond studies. My daughter Lily has a remarkable talent for art and spends hours creating beautiful paintings that adorn our home. My son Tommy has always had a natural talent for soccer, and we spend our weekends attending his games and cheering him on. I am proud to see my children thriving in their lives. Regarding Sarah, we have not been in contact, and I believe it is best to keep it that way. As many of you correctly assumed, her affair partner Jack unexpectedly contacted me one day. The message was not an apology, as one might expect, being that he was the other man, but rather anger and resentment towards me for allegedly taking Sarah away from him. He blamed me for their relationship falling apart and accused me of being the reason for her departure. In his messages, Jack lashed out, calling me names and making hurtful accusations. He questioned my motives and claimed I had manipulated Sarah into returning to our family. The messages were aggressive and unsettling, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the intensity of his anger. I couldn't believe that this man had the nerve to be angry at me when he was the reason behind my family breaking up 8 years ago. I responded to him, stating that I had no desire to be with Sarah and that I was in the process of getting a divorce. I reminded him of the pain and confusion that my family had gone through when Sarah left us for him and told him that he had no right to contact me. I stressed how our lives had been turned upside down all those years ago and how my children had suffered as a result. I made it clear that I never wanted her back, and if he needed to blame someone, then he should blame himself and his gambling addiction. I blocked him after I sent him the message, and hopefully he won't try to contact me further. I don't want him to mess up the peaceful life my children and I have built. Interestingly, Sarah's mother also revealed that because of my decision not to reconcile with Sarah, the lake house would not be going to her as her father had intended. This twist was unexpected, although it also felt deserved. Sarah's selfish decisions had not only shattered our family but also affected another, so it was only fitting that she should face the consequences. It was time to move forward and leave the past behind. I know it is going to be a challenging journey, but the healing process is well underway. My children are growing and thriving, and our future looks brighter with each passing day.